Hi there, parents, and welcome into this energy astrology update for middle of February 2023 and bringing us into this coming March energy. And we're specifically as well going to focus on the new moon on February 19th in Pisces. So I do hope this information will be helpful for you, help you and your children navigate this moment in time in these energies. And if you don't know who I am, my name is Chrissy Whistler. I am an intuitive, an astrologer, and I'm also the parent of two magical multi-dimensional kids. If you are really struggling right now and you need support, if you are wanting to step away from all the traditional ways of doing parenting, but you feel lost, alone, do please reach out. I offer consulting calls as well as Chart Your Stars, where we can do a birth chart reading for your children and see how are they sensitive? What is their soul calling them to do this lifetime? What do you need to know as a parent to best support them in their unique way? So those are some of the offerings that I have. You can find out more of that at my website at chrissywhistler.com. And please like this video, share this video with your friends, your other parents that you know who might be struggling. Subscribe to this channel. That really does help me so much to connect to other parents like you who I want to understand what the heck is going on in this world with your children and how to support them. So thank you all so much. I appreciate you for being here, and I appreciate you for tuning in and even asking these questions. So let's go ahead and start getting into the energy and the astrology. This video, I really focus on the lens of parenting and how to support your children and your teenagers with these energies. If you would like a more higher level view, kind of more adult focused, as we will say, I do have another video for that. So go check that out if that is what you're interested in. So how are you guys doing? How are you surviving? Maybe that's the better question to ask. Please let me know in the comments. I do want to see you and support you and share with you as well that you are not alone, regardless of whatever it is, your specific challenge, you are not alone. This is a very difficult time to be alive, and please know that I do see you. Now, just to back up for a moment and really give you some context to some of these energies that have been coming through, to help ground you, or at the least to share with you that if you've had a similar experience with your children or what you're feeling, that you are not alone. The February 6th, I'm just kind of tuning back into that energy, that week right after this full moon was very powerful, very intense energy. For myself, I was actually camping with my children at Joshua Tree National Park, and I was so glad that we were in the middle of nature, because I can't just not even imagine. I mean, I can because I've done it before, but being in an apartment building, just the energy was electrical, fiery, combustible. My kids going at it with each other. They don't usually do that. Eric is this tornado of energy, and Kate's crying at the drop of a hat. Like, it was just, all right. Clearing that energy. That came through the strongest for us on Tuesday the 8th. And again, I'm just so grateful that we were camping, because even I was on a short fuse. I was struggling to really be calm and stay in my center. So it's like even when I was struggling, I could be like, okay, we're going on a walk around the campground. Like we need to go move our bodies and move some of this energy out of us. So as well, like I didn't flip my lid, and lose it. So just know that that week in particular, it's still in the air, okay? But there's just a lot of anger energy that's in the field. So can you feel that? Let me know in the comments if you can. This real pushing for war and conflict, divisive energy. I found myself actually drafted in by the universe with my children to hold a new frequency and vibration. We would be walking the land and I could just feel like, oh, we're doing big work just by walking around that campground. Where we were, there's a lot of military bases in the desert there. And I usually have more activity when I'm farther south, but up there, up north, it was like constant planes going into the Joshua Tree area, which is also a vortex, a portal, by the way. Just really going in there. And one night, all through the night and into the morning, it was like they were dropping bombs or something, this training, this practicing. And I found myself just constantly looking over my shoulder. I'm like, what are they doing? Because it was like these just loud earth vibrations. And it was like, oh, this energy, this pushing for war that's happening. And here me and my children are at this spot, at this exact moment in time. I was like, oh, we've got a job to do. We're here to hold in this other timeline of peace, for peace, this frequency of love. So that was what my children and I were called in for. And as well that week, if your children are sensitive to the sun and the energies, the sun was very, very active last week. I think within a 5-day period, we had 26 M-class solar flares, and then a very powerful X-class on the 11th. That also happened to be actually the same day that Pluto entered that critical degree of Capricorn, 29 degrees. So I'm like, very interesting. Same day that happened, we have this big X-class solar flare. So yeah. Let me know in the comments, like, have your children been feeling any of this energy? Have they been struggling? Like, what has your experience been? Has it been intense, extra intense with your teenagers too? I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case. This is also a time where we or our children can be having a lot of sharp, powerful, angry words at this time. We have Mercury conjunct Pluto right now. And if you as the parent are the one that's being very sharp, can you really go back later and apologize? Can you be in your full presence with your children or your teenagers to be in your space? Oh, getting some ringing out of my ear right there. Very sharp ringing. Can you really be in your space and calm and say, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have acted that way. Because the more that we model this for our children, what it means, okay, first off, to not be triggered by our own unconscious, but when we are, and we will be, how we can repair that ruptured relationship. How can we make amends? How do you even ask for forgiveness? And the way we learn that is through our parents and how they model for us. This isn't what we say, this is what we do. And can you imagine what our world would be like now if that had been the model that was shown for us from our families, our systems, our governments, right? Just really coming at education, really teaching us how to listen, to truly listen and to be present with another, even if we have disagreements and don't agree. That'd be a game changer right there, if you ask me. So let's see if we can set that as a foundation for our kids in their future. And here's one of mine here. This is a really important time to hold on to self-energy right now. To be kind, compassionate, caring within our heart spaces as we move through this very intense, fiery, eruptive, seismic moment in time. To be the observer and not just be the person who reacts. And it's okay if you do react. I certainly do. I was certainly reacting on that one particular day camping. I was reacting a whole lot. So it's not about being perfect, okay? And if you are reacting, can you have some space? And can you bring awareness? Like, wow, why did I react that way? What's going on with that? What's underneath the surface of my anger or frustration? What's hidden that needs to be seen and brought to the surface, brought to the conscious mind so we can heal it and integrate it? That's so much of this wisdom that's that we're almost being forced into by the astrology, by the energy. This is really bubbling up to the surface for us, for our children. And if it does, witness it. Bring it to the light so you're no longer reacting from that unconscious place. And no one does that better for us, bringing this stuff up to the surface, than our children. So if that is your experience at this moment, please be sure to take care of yourself right now, to give yourself a lot of grace. Our kids are holding up these giant ass mirrors, okay? They're massive mirrors into our unconscious for us to see, and that is especially true right now. We are here with a job to do for them, to co-create this new reality, this new earth and future for our children. But to do that, it means we need to be aware of what they are inheriting from us. What patterns and stories that we're needing to break the cycle so we're not passing it down to them. Also, projection is really up at this time. From others, projecting from their unconscious, their fears, insecurities, beliefs onto you or your children. Or you can be doing this onto others, including your children. This can very much be around the body, gender, sexuality, identity, individuality, desires, partnerships. So those are some of the really big themes right now. We have Jupiter, Chiron, and Juno all conjunct in Aries. So big healing around those areas. And Chiron transits in particular they're not comfortable. I wish they were, they're not. Chiron is taking us down into those soul wounds that we're holding on to. And it's like really going in there to those painful places, because again, we're shining a light in that darkness so we can actually heal it. And Chiron, the wounded healer, it's when we go into our wounds and heal it, that becomes our greatest gift. So that's so much of what this experience is bringing us into. So it can be our greatest gifts around sexuality, desires, individuality, partnerships, the body. How might those areas have been distorted by the past? What may not allowed to be or was considered wrong or taboo, especially in society. And with Jupiter there, this can be very expansive, very blown up of those energies. I'll just share an example for you. that happened to me twice, where people were projecting onto Eric their fears, their worries. You know, one person I know, Eric has long hair. And if you ask me, why does Eric have long hair? I would tell you, well, he totally freaked out as a baby when I cut his bangs. And I said, okay, I won't do that anymore because it was so distressful. Let me get that right. He was so distressed. It caused him so much anxiety and almost pain. I was like, okay, you are clearly communicating with me that you don't want you don't want your hair cut. I can listen to that. There's no reason I need to cut your hair other than society has expectations from boys having short hair. So I said, okay, we won't cut it until you want to cut it. And this weekend, I had someone see Eric's long hair and immediately jumped into the gender identity. And I'm like, I'm just going to sit here and listen and hold space. And as I did that, found out that this person was having their own fears coming up around a family member who was going through the transitioning process. And he was having a lot of his own issues and opinions and beliefs that he projected onto Eric. Because Eric had long hair, you know, so like that kind of thing can be this experience. Another one was Eric and learning to write. We do a different way of schooling. We do self-directed learning. And if you know anything about Eric, you've seen any of my videos, he's still actually learning to talk. This human language and communication thing is not something he cares a great deal about. So like writing is just not at all something he cares about. And yet, so this person's fears were really projected onto him, and it's like, that's actually not important to him. But if that person had come, because they love him and concerned about him, they want him to do well, you know, had that approach, I could be like, well, he's not doing this because he doesn't care about that. I'm actually super excited to see all these things that he's saying right now. But if you want more traditional education stuff, hey, he did all this math stuff in his head while we're playing a board game. And I'm like, whoa, I needed to get my calculator out, kid. And you're figuring it out in your head, like easy. So again, in both cases, it had nothing to do with Eric. It was just projection of fears onto him. So know that it's really up in the field right now, especially if you do have children who are pushing against these societal norms, really forging ahead, going their own way, very sovereign beings, like Eric, who are just like, nope, I'm doing it my way and you can't tell me to do it any other way. Like, this is who I am. You might be having that experience where they, from being themselves, are making other people really uncomfortable. So be sure as the parent to take care of yourself right now. Nourish yourself. This is not just fully giving ourselves to our children constantly, all the time. What is the deep healing that you need? The space that you need to go and to do that. And this is, again, this invitation too, is can we establish some new wisdom around that? And even healing and nourishing ourselves in a way that is right for us, for our own inner child, okay? Our emotions, our need for our own safe space as parents, to give time and priority to ourselves in some way. For me, this was a very ancestral healing week. Also really looking into this masculine, feminine energies in my lineage. What I've learned from my parents, watching them, you know, again, this modeling, monkey see, monkey do, you know, those patterns that I've picked up. I've mentioned in the past about being the one who like so good at picking up all the bricks and carrying them on my back. I am so strong and so resilient. And yet there can be this real silent, building, bubbling resentment of always being the one doing the work and never getting any help, never getting a chance to rest, never getting a chance to play. Those were some of the themes that were really up for me that I had to sit with and see, and even share with Sean, like, hey, this is what's coming up for me. So almost like a very black moon Lilith energy, really rising back up again. So let me know if anything's coming up for you. We do have big roles as parents, much bigger sometimes than we really see, because these weavings and patterns go so deep. It's not just our stuff. This is our grandparents' stuff. This can be stuff for our cousins. Like, I found myself like going through this experience and being like, this thing that I'm crying and clearing isn't even mine. It's like theirs. And yet I was the person in my lineage, my soul, who said, okay, I'll be the one to clear this. And I'm also clearing it again so I don't hand it to my children. So that can be some of this experience that's happening for you as well at this time. And that is so we can really set down new patterns, this new paradigm of even balance. Be as aware as well that starting around February 11th and taking us into March 22nd, Pluto is going to be at that 29th degree of Capricorn. I talk more about those energies in the other video, but just know that as parents, we might feel this more need for control over our children, this top-down authority. And I say that because that's the traditional mode of parenting in our society and world culture, is this top-down approach rather than like a partnership or a co-creation. So we can see this playing out in the world. I mean, like, again, we've been seeing this pushing for war, conflict. I mean, shooting things out of the sky is going on, right? So that is happening, and just be aware if that's coming out in you as well. Again, it's just mindful with the energy, just having that extra space of awareness. And depending on the sensitivity of your children, they can be really feeling those energies as well at this time, like world energies. Especially if you have children who, trying to remember, Neptune went into Pisces at least around 2011. I don't have the exact date, but kids with like Neptune and Pisces, very sensitive to the collective. Neptune is still in Pisces as well. So this is like a generation thing. So we have very sensitive children at this time. So, and then depending on how the rest of your child's chart forms and, you know, the time of their birth, they can be even extra sensitive. So if you've got one of those extra sensitive kids, they can be experiencing this very bleed through of energy and emotions in a big way. And that's especially as we head into this new moon on the 19th, which is at 1 degree of Pisces. So help ground your children if they are feeling sensitive. Maybe it's moving their bodies, doing rhythmic things like dancing or playing, going into nature, connecting with the earth. They can have this experience of overwhelm with emotions, of being flooded, that there's no barrier between them and the outside world, especially this collective consciousness. So parents, you know your children the best, so tune into them. Really tune in, especially as we move into March. These energies are going to keep, like, we're really in this crumbling moment, this breaking down to break through. So I am expecting the intensity of this to continue to expand. We're really going to be breaking in the new, and our children are going to be feeling that. So how can we help them? How can you help your child in the way that they need? Now, if you would like some support, and you're like, I do have this sensitive child, I don't know how they are experiencing the world, can you help with that? The answer is yes, I can. Also, by doing a chart your stars, looking at the moment of your child's birth, we can see where are their sensitivities, how is it coming through in the birth chart, and tools and guidance to help you as the parent then support them to help regulate your children through this intense period in time. So please reach out if that's something you are interested in. But whatever is playing out in this 3D world, we are really being asked at this higher level to really tune back into natural law and natural time, as opposed to man-made law, man-made time. It's like when I go camping with the kids at the desert during the winter, we actually call this desert time, because the sun goes down at 3:30, 4, and it gets cold out. What else can you do except go to bed? There's no staying up late with artificial lighting. There's no screens or video games, which is a favorite for my children back home. And so we just go to sleep. And then we get up in the morning with the sun. And as the sun comes up, the world warms up. So are we, as humans, in alignment with nature? Have we done our clearing work? Are we reading the signs of nature herself? Are you listening to what the universe is telling you? Our kids, when we allow them, especially our younger ones, they are incredibly aligned to natural law. And so if you're struggling, really look to them for guidance. I'm just surrendering myself as well and letting this video be what it's going to be. So as parents, really stop thinking with the head at this time, and really tune into your hearts and tune into your children. You know, like that family member who was asking about Eric and learning to write, if she'd tuned into him and his rhythms, or she'd even asked, she would have heard a very different story around his learning and what he's interested in. The show Netflix, the series Earthstorm, he's really into. So he's learning all about tornadoes and hurricanes, that kind of thing. Or when we were playing Barren Park, he was adding up his points as we were playing this game, all in his head. Or even knowing the tiny details from where we were driving, from Joshua Tree to the where my parents stay in Nyland. They do dog training down there. And just tiny little streets of like, you turn left on Hay Street and then left on 70th and right on Cleveland. And I'm like, I don't even know that. I mean, I knew the big ones, but I didn't know the little tiny details that he did. And again, as I was saying, he's talking so much more. Like, I'm upside down when him and my mother were playing at the trailer. But this person's focus was on an unnatural benchmark and not Eric's natural rhythm, his interest, his way of communicating right now, which is also very mystical. And that's where we were at the land, walking the land, gritting. And I was very aware as we were doing that, what we were doing. That we were drafted in by the universe to hold this frequency. We are being invited to go outside our comfort zone as parents, to forge new territory, new ground, new communities, new ways of doing things. But don't be discouraged if you're not finding your way yet, your footing, or it's not coming together as quickly as you would like. This is not the time to really forge ahead or get ahead of ourselves. If we do, the universe is going to tell us that we're chasing our tails or we're going the wrong direction, but we have to look for those signs. This time is a very yin energy very receptive, feminine, listening. This is not yang energy. Masculine, outward, produce all the time, get your goals orientated, get them set, do. We also see this as well coming in with Saturn and the Sun are going to be conjunct in Aquarius at this new moon on the 19th. Are we being allowed to shine our light, to be our own unique creative self, to actualize this, to be our own mad scientist and just go experiment? Saturn is this taskmaster. Saturn is pushing us to work for it here, to not rush ahead, to not recreate those mistakes that we made in the past, that karma. It's like, no. This time you're doing it slow. You're building it one piece at a time because we're here to really bring in these big, beautiful dreams. The new moon is going to be at 1 degree of Pisces on that 19th. So you can see where that falls in your birth chart or your children's. As I mentioned, emotions can be very highlighted at this time. Could be emotions from the past really coming in, from your childhood, from those darkest shadows within us and those places we haven't wanted to look at. But it's really important that we do. We're being very supportive to heal those energies with Hamia coming in an aspect there as well. This very regenerative energy, this wave of healing coming up from whatever's in the depths. Hamia is there to help us heal it. So if you need to, or your children, really pull away from whatever is happening in that outside world and go back into yourself, back to your dreams and what you are here to create with your children. So what are you gestating at this time? What are they creating? Just know as well that Uranus is going to be very highlighted at this time. Uranus is really highlighted in general right now because I mentioned him last time. There can be a lot of electrical energy. Mercury is in Aquarius and it's going to be square to Uranus. So again, go ground, help your children ground. Our kids can be getting a lot of sudden insights, flashes from the future, downloads, galactic information. So there can be a lot of coming in, experiences as well, the rug getting ripped out from under you or them. And yet, whatever's happening, okay, again, be gentle. This energy is really asking all of us to dream, but we also have to weave, to be open to having these visions of this future that we are creating, and then to stand firm, to stand in our power and our ground in order to create those. You know, our world's going to continue to crumble and break apart. All those things that aren't working, Pluto is there to show us what it is, to transform it, and then for our part, to hold the space of creation, this foundation of what our children here are here to create and to bring in. So it's going to be this, again, this weaving of all of these energies and so much more. Not an easy time, but I do hope that this information can better support you and your children. How to meet these energies where they are and just surrender to them. To go with the flow as best that you can. And again, I truly hope that was helpful. And if you are in need of support, if you would like a consult call or a birth chart reading for your children, do please reach out. I'm here to witness you and hold space for you, even as you go through this journey on your own. And please like this video, subscribe to this channel. It really helps me so much. And I also just want to say I appreciate you so much for being here and for saying yes to the children that you have, and to, again, walk these new roads and how to support them in just new, different ways than even we knew. as children. So much love and much thanks and gratitude to you, parents. I do hope that was helpful, and I will see you guys soon. Take care. Bye-bye.